Hello, I'm Yoko, and welcome back to Year 11 of GalaxyClan. This is a series, so if you're new, I recommend checking out the playlist that's linked below or in a card above. Also, real quick, because I get questions a lot, this series typically updates on the last Sunday of every month, unless it's delayed. Also, I have a family tree that's linked below that I'll update in about a week after this video goes up. But with that said, it's crazy that we're at year 11 and I'm excited to show you what happened. Also, the in real life year 1 anniversary of GalaxyClan is on September 4th. And while I'm not making a celebration video per se, I am planning a little Discord party, so if you're on there, look out for that. But with that said, let's get into the drama, because we have another Animatic section. So someone got a burn mark this year in game, which means I ran my fire generator, unfortunately. This also happened a few moons into the year, so this is the first animatic that doesn't take place at the very beginning of a year. And there might be some new faces and or names during this animatic section that you're not familiar with. And I'm going to be mean and make you panic because one of the options in the generator is that a cat can suffer from smoke damage and either survive or die after the fire. So any cat I mention having trouble breathing, passing out, or anything like that has the potential to have died after the fire. But I'm going to make you wait until the StarClan section to find out who. But with all that said, content warning for the animatic section, potential not too detailed burning cats, and a small amount of blood. But yeah, let's get into the madness. A sleeping holopath wakes up from slumber noticing a harsh smell, and he calls an alarm which wakes up the warriors right before a flaming tree crashes into camp and chaos breaks loose as the panicking cats are separated. In the medicine cat den, Swanleaf helps Cinderspeck get to safety quickly with the help of her dad, Ottertail, but she worries about Orangeback, who she lost track of. Whispbreeze and Garlic run to the Elder's Den to help Cinderpetal immediately, Whispbreeze guiding her dad to safety as Garlic runs into camp looking for his children. He finds his daughter, Butterfly Catcher, who's hanging over the cliff edge, and her tail gets burned as she hangs over the fire. Garlic quickly grabs her and ushers his daughter to safety. Distressed cries ring out over the fire as disasters strike all around them. Mothblaze is trapped by the fire with nowhere to go, and Oakspring screams helplessly as his mate is beyond his reach, and she unfortunately can't be saved. Flaxor drags Oakspring away, feeling his pain but trying to save him, as she can hear him gasping for air as well. Meanwhile, Fernheart screams about her missing kit. Brightstar is just as panicked, but tries to convince her to get to safety so he can find her himself. He has lives that he can spare, but Fernheart does not. To his horror, Fernheart passes out, and Darkwhistle and Sage just run towards the flames into camp. They yell at him to get their mom to safety as they run by. Eaglestrike also runs as well, but in a different direction along the bordering cliff, hoping to get a good look into the camp easier. Tragically, however, she steps on a loose spot and begins to fall into the flames, but they are caught by Orangeback. He struggles to lift her to safety, and her weight begins dragging him down as well. Eaglestrike scratches his face, which shocks him enough to drop them. Eaglestrike then falls into the flames below, hoping at least one of them can make it to safety now. Orangeback sits crying at his failure to save one of his clanmates until Lavender Heather arrives and helps the medicine cat to safety, concerned at his struggles to breathe. Meanwhile, unaware of her fate, Eaglestrike's brothers find Hope Kit on a rock ledge that she couldn't have gotten to herself. Sage just immediately leans up to grab his sister, and as he turns to leave, more flaming debris falls. His leg is trapped and flames rise all around him, but he can see Darkwhistle beyond them. With desperation, Sage just literally throws Hope Kit over the flames to him. Darkwhistle tears up as Sage just tells him to leave as the fire gets him. Darkwhistle runs crying and finds his kit, Pantherpaw, who runs to him. He sees Moleshade, who looks like he's about to collapse, and notices that they're dragging a passed-out Moonpaw. Pantherpaw explaining Moonpaw had gotten trapped in the apprentice den, but Moleshade got him out. Pantherpaw then takes Hope Kit, and Darkwhistle helps his kits and Moleshade to safety, praying to StarClan. Meanwhile, Wolverine Speckle has to give up her search for her siblings. She only found one of her brothers, but they're both struggling to breathe, and they need to leave now. Unaware to them, Silkfur was with Burnett Flicker elsewhere. Silkfur wonders if Mintsplash will be proud of him for trapping Hope Kit, who he was told should never have been born in the first place. He felt like he could feel his uncle's presence encouraging him as Silkfur looked at his sister Burnett Flicker. In an impulsive action, Silkfur attempts to push his sister into the flames below, growling to her that she's always been weak and an embarrassment to her family, as she hangs over the edge. Suddenly, Cinnamon Feather attacks him, and as he backs up, his tail gets caught in the fire, causing him to yowl in pain, which distracts him enough for Cinnamon Feather to help Burn It flicker up. Silk Fur sees Ember Feather running up, and he realizes he's outnumbered and runs off on his own. A bit later, Brightstar breathes heavily as he carries Fernheart. He tries leading his clan away from the fire and towards the Creek clan border, but the world starts getting blurry and all he sees is black. So we're immediately hopping into Star Clan. That sure was a fire. Unfortunately, first up we have Mothblaze, who died at 51 moons old when she burned in the fire, and sadly also Oak Spring, who died at 54 moons old, and he died from the smoke damage that he sustained while in distress. I am both sad that he died and also kind of happy because I really didn't want to see a sad Oak Spring after his mate died like right in front of him. Before the fire, things were pretty normal for these two. Mothblaze, the troublesome girl she is, actually pranked some cats with a dead snake, so that was fun. They also both purred as they saw their kits become warriors and were unaware of their son's dark forest training while they were alive. The generator also doesn't specify how long the cats that died of smoke damage lived after the fire, but I kind of hope that Oak Spring didn't hear about what happened between his kids right before he died because that's really sad. But yeah, we have a lot more fire victims, so let's get to them. Next up is Eagle Strike, who unfortunately died at 36 moons old. Rest in peace, my demigirl queen. The generator had stated that Eagle Strike burned in the fire, but it also said that Orangeback was helping her, which led to that sad and dramatic scene. It is very Eagle Strike of her to, instead of telling a cat to drop her, she just scratches him to make him do it, instead of wasting more time. But my heart hurts seeing them go like this. They never actually got an apprentice either, which is also sad to me. Eagle Strike seemed a bit upset on the moon that Fernheart gave birth, but they were later shown interacting with their little sister in a positive way, so Eagle seems to have warmed up to her, and it's sad knowing that they died while looking for Hope Kit. Also, I didn't just decide that specifically all of Fernheart's kits went to go look for Hope Kit. All 3 of them actually generated that they were looking for her, so that's fun. But yeah, that's Eagle Strike, and tragically, Orangeback died of smoke damage despite Eagle Strike's efforts for at least one of them to live. He was only 18 moons old, and I'm really sad to see him go. He was such a happy cat, and he really was sweet. He had also killed a snake that bit someone earlier in the year, throwing it out of camp. And the cat that got bit survived the bite, but you'll find out who that was later. Also, hopefully that wasn't the dead snake that Mothblaze was pranking people with. That might have been kind of tasteless, Mothblaze. But yeah, it really seems that Swanleaf continues to be the only exception to medicine cats in GalaxyClan having their first apprentice die really young. But yeah, rest in peace, Orangeback. Hope you have a good time in StarClan. Next up is Sagedust, who died at 36 moons old when he burned in the fire as well. It hurts that 2 of Fernheart's kits literally burned alive. That's horrible. I also don't think his herb-covered pelt was helpful in this scenario, but at least he managed to save Hope Kit. Also, he has a few scars that he didn't have last year. He was supposed to have the leg scar, but I forgot to draw it, so that's not new. But this year, he actually got his tail hurt by a dog. So he wasn't really having the best year before this event. Also, side note, his dad Mintsplash was furious in the Dark Forest after the fire. So I don't think he's happy with the only son he actually cared about dying while he was saving Fernheart and Brightstar's kit. Overall, Sage just didn't do much before the fire this year, but I'm really sad to see him go. Both of Fernheart's edgy kids, I'm so sad. Now Dark Whistle is the only one left in their litter, and you'll have to see how he's dealing with it later. Next up is sadly Moonpaw, who died at 7 moons old, and he didn't survive his smoke damage, and he had a bit of a cult following ever since he was a kid, so I'm really sorry to share this news. He actually surprisingly had a very eventful year despite dying so quickly. When he was 5 moons old, Brightstar actually lost a life, saving him from drowning, and I imagine that was after he snuck out of camp to explore, and probably right before he was supposed to be an apprentice. So I drew him basically apprentice-sized. Possibly based on this near-death experience, he actually gained the responsible personality, and he was apprenticed to Lavender Heather, who showed him a porcupine on their first patrol. And his first status as an apprentice was actually him immediately asking how he could help the elders. So he really was a sweetheart, and I'm going to miss him, and it's really sad that he died so soon. His full name also would have been Moonarch for anyone that was wondering. Always sad seeing young cats die. And the last cat to die due to the fire, at least, is sadly Moleshade, who died at 38 moons old. They were generated to be helping both Moonpaw and Pantherpaw in the generator, So I made the lore that they had to help Moonpaw, who was trapped in the apprentice den. Unfortunately, both of them died due to the smoke damage. Moleshade was also seen calmly talking to a cat from another clan, which I can only assume was their Bug Clan brother Pinecall, who was probably relaying the news that their biological father in Bug Clan had died, which might have explained why Moleshade was a little gloomy despite the fact they hadn't interacted with him at all. Also, Swanleaf and Moleshade never got together, sadly, but they did apparently practice battle moves together despite Swanleaf being a medicine cat, which I found very cute. I realized I can click on the little notebook on the relationship tab to see stuff that happens during Moonskip so I don't have to read through a million different things. So I have a bunch of little bonus things I know now. But yeah, I'm really sad to see them go, but sadly, despite being the last fire casualty, they were not the last cat to die this year. Unfortunately, Garlic died of green cough at 65 moons old. He was having a pretty rough year, but he was such a nice cat. During the fire, he generated that he was helping both Cinderpetal and his daughter Butterfly Catcher, his daughter having been in a more dangerous position. And then his son Orangeback died later, which he didn't take the best. He also found out that his former apprentice Silkfur had done some pretty horrible things, and he felt really guilty for apparently not guiding him enough. Luckily, in the meantime, he had Emberfeather during this. I love the friendship these two single dads had, and I'm really sad to see it go. I'm also really sad that Garlic never lived to see any grandkids. But his best friend in the clan, Emberfeather, also died this year. He died at 82 moons old, and he was found dead outside a fox den. But lore-wise, I would find it more interesting / sad if the wolves killed him and the fox just sadly scavenged him, seeing as Emberfeather was stalking wolves. He really did his best as deputy, and this is our first deputy to die instead of retire, which hurts to think about, but also it's been 11 years, so it had to happen eventually. With Brightstar's age, I wasn't expecting an Ember Star, but it's still really sad to see him go. Emberfeather also found and adopted a newborn kit the literal moon before he died, which breaks my heart. I personally removed Emberfeather as the kit's adopted dad after Emberfeather's death, so there's nothing that ties him to certain bloodlines, and we can have some new blood, but that's still so sad. He seems to really like being a dad, so it sucks that he didn't get to raise this kit. Rest in peace, Emberfeather. And the last cat to die this year is unfortunately Wolverine Speckle, and I'm so sad. My cool punk rock girl, she died at only 20 moons old. Also, Speck in any form is now banned from names. We've had too many in the clan. I let Brightstar have one because I figured it reminded him of Bubble Speck, but no more. Clan Gen, please. Wolverine Speckle was honored for her morals and became bold. She was attacked by a fox when she and her siblings tried to steal some deer and also got scarred by a porcupine. She was the type of cat to run into danger, especially if it meant protecting others. She had also chased off a large dog with Brightstar, which was really impressive. She really looked up to Emberfeather so much, and on the same moon that he was apparently found dead outside a fox den, she was also fighting a fox, which I imagine that might have been her trying to get whatever was left of him so she could bury him, which is really sad. She also had the status of promising to protect the kits, when the only kit in the clan was the one that Emberfeather found. And if she lived, I might have let her adopt the kit despite her age. And big blood warning for a pick, I'll let you know when it's gone. Going up in 3, 2, 1. Following in her mentor's footsteps, she was actually killed by wolves as well, which is heartbreaking, and the pick is now gone. I'm so sad that she's gone. I loved her so much. She was so cool. Also, I feel the need to point out that she was a girl magnet because 2 different girls in the clan had a crush on her, but I'll point that out later. But yeah, lots of death this year, and that's everyone in StarClan this year. Now to head into living cats. And I'm just knocking Silkfur out right here since I'll bring him up a lot throughout the video probably. And he's living outside the clan right now. He's 22 moons old, and as you can see, he is bloodthirsty and an eloquent speaker. So in year 10, I was aware of this fact when I said he was training with Mintsplash in the Dark Forest since I played like 2 moons ahead. The fire, however, had not happened yet. After I got the prompt that Hope Kit was missing, I decided that Silkfur had taken the opportunity to try to take her out and gain favor with his evil uncle. I also put both him and Pounce into the generator as cats that could potentially push people into fire, and I am so surprised that it actually generated that he tried to kill Burnet Flicker after all the bullying he did to her. It was very fitting but sad, but chef's kiss, thank you generator for good storytelling. He's exiled in-game, but I can technically edit the files to bring him back at some point if things happen. But Silkfur was the one to run away from his consequences, and he was never officially kicked out. By the way, the cat that triggered the fire generator to occur was actually him, technically, when he got a burn in-game on his tail. But Butterfly Catcher also got a burn later in the year that I just pretended happened here. Also, side note, he found and wore moth wings this year after his warrior ceremony, which makes me wonder if he has at least some semi-good to him and was doing it to either represent his mom, Mothblaze, or his mentor, who he seemed to not actually respect, but these are the same wings that Garlic had. But yeah, here's Silkfur. You'll have to wait to see his brother, but for now, let's get into the actual clan. Starting with Brightstar, who is 74 moons old, and Fernheart, who is now 66 moons old. And they both had a rough year. Starting with Brightstar, he lost 3 lives this year, and now he's down to 6. As previously stated, first he drowned saving Moonkit, then he lost one due to the smoke damage from the fire, and the final life was actually lost during the same green cough event that killed Garlic. Brightstar is struggling a bit with the aftermath of the fire on his clan, not only the death, but finding out what Silkfur had done. Brightstar didn't officially exile him, but Silkfur isn't exactly welcome back. The clan had taken shelter in Kree Clan territory of all places after the fire, and while they let them stay there during the flames and helped heal burn-damaged clanmates, Kestrel Star holds that fact over his head now. Both Fernheart and Brightstar took the deaths of Eaglestrike and Sagedust really hard. Despite them not being his technically, he loved them and they were his kids as well. Before the fire, Fernheart had been a little nervous during her pregnancy, but felt a huge relief at the fact that Brightstar was there to actually help her with watching their one kit, unlike how Mintsplash had treated her. They are so happy she was saved from the fire, but it's bittersweet when they lost 2 children as well. Fernheart also suffered from smoke damage, and I rolled on all the cats that got the smoke damage prompt about whether or not the smoke damage was permanent, and Fernheart was the only one who rolled to have damaged lungs from the experience. Also, in between all this, let's throw in some happy stuff. Since I did learn how to click on the notebook, I found out and laughed at the fact that Brightstar had the status of purring at one of Fernheart's lame jokes 3 times in a row. I love this, they're so cute. Fernheart is apparently a little jokester, and Brightstar loves it. Love that for them. But yeah, they both had a period of grieving, but Fernheart actually showed her strength this year when she and 2 others saved a cat who was being chased by a dog. While the cat kept running, they were happy to help. Side note, I drew an OC from the Discord there, but that technically was a real cat in the game that I could have drawn. I'll improvise if they ever join the clan, but I wanted to do more OC drawings. Brightstar was also taken aback at the death of Emberfeather, losing his deputy as well as his former mentor during an already rocky time in the clan. I let him pick a deputy in-game, so on to who he chose. Slightly unexpectedly to me, the 85-moon-old Ottertail was actually chosen to be deputy, and also the now 47-moon-old Cloudjay officially asked him out, and they are now mates. The age gap isn't my favorite, but I think Cloudjay is old enough to make his own decisions. Also, I need to point out that Ottertail actually makes this boy happy for once, and it's kind of really cute. They had to run for the forest, but they hopped on tree trunks and ended up catching a mouse. And they also had the prompt where Cloudjay was looking at Ottertail instead of the sunset and just smiling. It's just really cute. Also, looking at the relationship stuff, apparently Cloudjay had snuck to sleep in Ottertail's nest, and that just reminds me of the Cuddlebug so much. Cloudjay is a secret cuddler confirmed. But yeah, on to specifics between these cats. So Ottertail actually did finally get hurt by a dog this year, which was a moon before Cloudjay confessed. Ottertail also has Forget-Me-Nots now as an accessory, and he found them in-game after Emberfeather died in a prompt that literally said they were found mysteriously in the frost, and my heart hurts. Also, Ottertail is now officially 100% deaf, but that doesn't hold him back, and he did perfect lip reading to an extent. As for Cloudjay, beyond his new mate, this boy actually did a bad thing that seems to be eating him up a bit. So the moon before the fire, I noticed that Poppy Wish actually sent an omen to Cloudjay of all cats for some reason. Which, nice to see you again, but why not a medicine cat? And Cloudjay seemed to panic at the omen, but instead of telling anyone that he received it, he ran. Cloudjay had the status of being missing in action for a bit on the same moon as the fire, so I believe he just left and came back to see the destruction. I don't want to blame him too much because he seems to be upset with himself over this, and it was probably more of a panic response, if anything, but still. But yeah, here's this new couple. Both of them are kind of distressed and not doing good right now. Ottertail dealing with the death of Emberfeather and also noticing that Cloud J seems jumpy and upset at something, but he won't tell him what. Oh yeah, real quick, both of Swanleaf's parents are apparently bi because Blazehair also got a girlfriend this year in Bug Clan, and I find that really funny. But yeah, into the medicine cat den. Cinderspeck is now 66 moons old, and the fire did not help his grief and feeling of panic. Ottertail had carried him out immediately at the start of the fire due to not wanting him to get burned, but he feels really guilty that he survived when many others did not, including his child Moleshade and the fellow medicine cat Orangeback. ClanGen hates our orange cats, I swear. Cinderspeck is also confused why StarClan never warned him, and he's been rethinking his life choices. On a brighter note, he was actually playing with his sister's kit and seemed happy when he did. He's doing a little better and is going further into the territory now as long as he has warrior escorts in case of danger. He's also been debating trying to rejoin Half Moon meetings as he feels like he's drifting away from his StarClan guides. He's also already trying to convince Swanleaf to take another apprentice, which, speaking of, Swanleaf is now 54 moons old, and she is not okay, honestly. Both her apprentice and one of her crushes died because of the fire, and she feels StarClan is definitely punishing her. She still really likes Lightfoot, but Lightfoot and Darkwhistle actually just had another litter, so that hurts. Her dad's been hanging out with her a lot, and he does things like bringing her nice things, which cheers her up a bit. I also need to point out that their platonic love for each other is almost at full, and that warms my heart up. After the fire, Swanleaf actually developed Omen Sight as a skill, which is super cool, but also that scares me. She might not have been warned about the fire, but I fear what she might find out in the future. Long story short, Swanleaf is still a sad pining lesbian, so nothing new really, she's just even more sad. But onto our warriors. We actually have a serious lack of senior warriors now, and our oldest warrior who I haven't drawn is Darkwhistle, who is now 44 moons old, and this year hit him so hard, I feel so bad for this boy. Both of his siblings died in the flames, and he had to specifically leave Sage Dust behind. Then he saw and had to help his unconscious son, Moonpaw, who later died as well. He had such sad statuses after the fire. First, he was suffering from nightmares, and then he was staring off into space, like 2 times. I honestly feel like Darkwhistle might have developed PTSD from all of this. He was doing so bad this year. Luckily, he has Lightfoot, and she actually helped him feel valued when he had a plan for getting more prey. And looking at their relationship statuses, Darkwhistle feels like no one understands him like Lightfoot does. They've also had moonlit strolls, which I would say was cute, but it probably just reminded them of Moonpaw. Honestly, Darkwhistle is doing a little better than how I drew him here, because he's actually kind of happy right now because Lightfoot is in the nursery with their second litter, who are literally newborns as of now. I did make a bonus picture, but I'll show it when we get to Lightfoot because I did the bonus picture a bit into the future. But yeah, I'm so sad about my shameless boy. I'm so sorry you have trauma now. Next up is Flaxroar, who is now 38 moons old, and she's doing pretty good this year, despite the sad stuff. First off, she was sad that Oakspring didn't survive the smoke damage even though she tried to save him, and she had the status that she was having a hard day after her dad Emberfeather died. But she also got an apprentice this year and did a great job training them. She's also one of the girls that saved that cat from the dog with Fernheart, the other being her sister Lavender Heather. And side note, I love that 3 of the sweetest girls in the clan were so tough and fierce when it came to taking a dog on. Love that for them. On the last moon of this year, she actually had the status that she wants to be deputy, which surprised me, but love the ambition she seems to have gained. Looking forward to her future. Next up, we're going to talk about Hollowpath. Immediately, small blood warning for a pick that's going to go up, nothing big. He had gained yet another scar this year because he was the cat that survived a snake bite, so now he officially has all 4 of his scar slots in game that are full. But the funny thing is, he actually got a status that he had another scar this year, but he has no room in game, so he didn't actually get one. I was tempted to draw another one somewhere on him anyway, but you guys let me know if I should in the future. Just see how scarred up this boy can get. Hollowpath was the first cat to notice the fire, and I actually rolled on if it would be him or Ottertail because I felt like they would have the best senses of smell in the clan. Beyond that, Hollowpath also took a dog down earlier this year with Sage Dust, who he was actually a good friend to, and it seems that he was pretty upset when he died. He was more upset at the death of his dad and was seen tearing up prey afterwards. Also, extremely concerningly, Frecklespot of all cats was watching Holopath with a sly smile, and now I'm wondering if she's somehow messing with him since he's kin with Burdock Star, the leader who exiled her. On a worse note, I hope she's not recruiting him in some way. But yeah, that was surprising and concerning. Let me know what you guys think she's up to. I think she finally figured out that she can do more than just suffer in the Dark Forest. Also, side note, Holopath does have a crush back on Cinnamon Feather now, but Holopath also has a crush on Butterfly Catcher, her sister, and I feel like having a crush on both sisters is a recipe for disaster, but we'll see. Next up is the 38-moon-old Lavender Heather, and her new mate, the 31-moon-old Whispries. Whispries actually confessed on the very last moon of this year, and I'm so excited we have an official lesbian couple in the clan now. It's been 11 years, Clan Gen, you better be nice to these girls. Also, I think it's really adorable that apparently Lavender Heather saw Whispries trip and thought it was cute. Very on brand. Starting with Lavender Heather this year, she was actually caught playing with a kitty pet at the very beginning of the year, which, while that is very cute, she needs to not do that. That's not what the Warrior Code says to do, Lavender Heather. She was also really sad when her apprentice Moonpaw died, but she bounced back relatively quickly. She also caught a ton of rats, and as before mentioned, fought a dog. Girly has been busy this year. Meanwhile, Whispries honestly kind of had a tougher year. She was on the patrol that Wolverine Speckle died on, and she also got skunked as well. Beyond that, she's continued to be her strange self, chittering at birds a lot. Lavender Heather also continues to have a ton of thoughts about kits, so I think she really wants to be a mom, and I hope Cinderpetal gets to be a grandpa. But yeah, these two are adorable, and I'm so happy. Game, you better not be mean to them. Next up is Cinnamon Feather, who is now 26 moons old, and I'm so happy she saved Burnett Flicker during the fire. So proud of her. And she's doing really good despite the fact that she's had a bit of a hard year as well after both her brother and her dad died. Not to mention some drama that her sister seems to have gotten into that we'll get into later. Butterfly Catcher just seems to not want to tell her sister the truth to something, and it's kind of bugging her. She also seems to have quite a big crush on Holopath now, but she is unaware that he likes both her and her sister. She also gave Kits feathers, and overall, she continues to be really sweet despite the bad circumstances. But she hasn't really done too much this year, honestly. Wish I could talk about her more, but yeah, that's basically Cinnamon Feather. On to Burnett Flicker. She is now 22 moons old, and she had a really, really rough beginning of the year. She indeed was the only one in her litter to not become a warrior at 12 moons old, and it seemed to take an effect on her. It led to her doing something that is so similar to the canon books. While on patrol with Moleshade, she ran at a dog wanting to prove herself, and she ended up getting mauled. The scar in the files is literally called Brightheart, by the way, and Eagle Strike seems to bond with her a bit while she was around. She gained her warrior name the next moon at 14 moons old, and was named for her vulnerability. Then the fire immediately happened where her brother almost killed her, and she actually burned her belly. Side note, I tried to hide her scarred face in the animatic, but you can see her ear in one frame, so if you caught that, good on you. Also, she only survived the fire because the generator rolled that Cinnamon Feather helped her after it rolled Silk Fur pushed her into the fire. If it was the other way around, she would have died. She was so close to not surviving that. She bonded with Butterfly Catcher over their burns, and over time seemed to grow into her bold personality, and tries not to let things bug her now. Her brother also actually gave her the juniper berries that she's wearing now after everything that happened with Silk Fur, and the fire in general, which took both of their parents from them, which I thought was really sweet. Speaking of him, here's the newly named Pounce Splinter. Dark Whistle had given him a friendly nudge during his warrior ceremony, which was really cute. And he actually also became bloodthirsty, but he also is clever now, which again, him being bloodthirsty is what inspired me to say he was training with Mintsplash. That being said, he seems to have gained some brains from his younger days where he was kind of dumb, honestly, and he realized what exactly they've gotten into. He was horrified at Silkfur's actions, and Pounce Splinter was really worried others were judging him, and he fears them finding out that he was training with Mintsplash. Speaking of, Mintsplash is really mad at him right now, and Mintsplash was watching him with malice, so that's not good. Pounce Splinter actually got Fernheart's kit as an apprentice as well, and despite being bloodthirsty, he genuinely seems to be having a redemption arc from his bully past. Bloodthirsty doesn't mean evil per se, it just means that they're quick to fight and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes in the future. especially since it seems he seems to have made peace with his sister. And he really loves his apprentice, who made him laugh on patrol. They went on a walk thinking about things on the same moon that Silkfur had the status of thinking he saw Pound Splinter. So I think they had a tense meeting where they disagreed and might have had an argument, possibly ending with Pound Splinter just telling him to get off the territory. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how things will go with Pound Splinter now. But I'm a little worried that he might be in over his head with his powerful enemies he seems to have now. Next up is the 21-moon-old Umbercurl, who is adventurous with a deep StarClan bond, which I find interesting. And now you understand why I made her so curly. If you didn't see the pinned comment on year 10, it was decided that Umbercurl is not Holopath's daughter, but she is the daughter of a cat that Holopath was seeing in the past. Umbercurl's real dad potentially being the one to scratch Holopath, and her mom left her in clan territory. That being said, neither of them actually know this, but the main detail right now is Umbercurl is not related to anyone in the clan, and I am on the lookout for any crushes that she gets, which sadly she did have one on Wolverine Speckle. Potential lesbian, potential bisexual, we'll have to see. Umbercurl actually became a warrior early at 11 moons old, being the first one to do so, and she was honored for her boldness. However, she seemed unfocused and was staring out beyond the horizon, so I wonder if she was thinking about where she might have come from. She also chased out a rogue this year, and overall she's doing pretty good, except for when she slipped into a river. But she's fine, nothing bad happened. But yeah, that's Umbercurl. Also, I really love her name. Curl is so cute. And last up for our warriors, our youngest warrior, Pantherstorm, is 15 moons old, and actually came out as non-binary this year, which we love that for them. They are careful, and they are/were an incredible runner. Not sure how well they run now, but I'll get into that later. They were apprenticed to Flaxroar, and on their very first patrol, they reported a 2-leg trap that they found at Emberfeather. And the fire traumatized them a bit after they lost their brother, but they seem to be the most concerned with their dad right now. When they became a warrior, they were honored for their judgment. And onto the elephant in the room. Big blood warning for a picture, I'll let you know when it's gone. Going up in 3, 2, 1. Pantherstorm got hit by a monster this year, and it broke her leg, which is extra sad with their incredible runner skill. And the pic is off the screen now. Technically, this is a classic mode and permanent injuries don't exist, but I'm rolling if certain leg scars have permanent damage depending on what caused them, and theirs is pretty bad. This is also the first cat in GalaxyClan to get hit by a monster, and I was not expecting it, but I'm happy they are okay at least. They just got this injury, so they're still adapting as of now, but let's head into the apprentice den. Fernheart and Brightstar's one kit, Hopepaw, is the clan's only apprentice, and she is currently 10 moons old. She's also insecure and curious about StarClan. I imagine that last part might be from the stories her dad told her about his Pale Hope prophecy he was a part of, which she was named after most likely. You guys did vote on her name. She had quite the traumatic experience during the fire and was a shell-shocked baby for most of it, just kind of existing and being carried. I imagine she did eventually manage to squeak out that Silkfur was the one that put her in danger. She didn't roll any permanent smoke damage, but she seems to have been in the medicine cat den afterwards and was playing with her Uncle Cinderspeck. As stated earlier, she's apprenticed to Pound Splinter, and they caught a lizard on their first patrol. Well, Pound Splinter caught the lizard, and she caught the tail, which led to them laughing, which was adorable. Pound Splinter seems to be good at getting her to be bolder, as they chased out a small dog as well, but we'll have to find out how much his bloodthirsty trait affected her as of year 12. On the moon that Pound Splinter was taking a walk thinking about things, I actually sent Hopepaw out with her dad Brightstar instead, and they caught a rabbit, which I thought was a cute bonding moment. Also, she's gorgeous, and I guess the ginger comes from Brightstar, but I was not expecting a torty kitten from these two. Next up, we're heading into the Elder's Den, where I'm just going to draw both of them at the same time for convenience. Bristlethroat finally retired, and she is now 146 moons old, and she had quite the drama this year. First, she got scarred by a porcupine. Lots of porcupines this year. And then she got kidnapped by 2-legs, and I have really good luck with this because she came back after like 5 or 6 moons, I can't remember exactly, and immediately she retired at 141 moons old. I also imagine that despite her age, she probably got fixed because if cats are taken by 2-legs and they're gone for more than 3 moons before they return, I'm going to say that they got fixed while they were taken. Not that I expected her to have more babies, but it is possible for elders to have more kids. I also feel bad that she returned to the clan only to find out about the fire and that Mothblaze died, but But I'm happy she's back, and I completely expected her to just pass away while she was lost at some point. So this is a fun surprise. As for Cinderpetal, he is now 135 moons old, and our last clan founder is still kicking, which makes me really happy. I was also happy that Whisperies was one of the cats that generated to be helping Cinderpetal during the fire. I love their father-daughter bond. And he seems pretty happy right now. He tells a lot of stories, and I hope he sticks around because, again, I really want him to see grandkits one day. But speaking of kits, let's head into the nursery. I did an oopsie. Butterfly Catcher is currently in the nursery at 26 moons old, and she has no mate. I immediately went to my settings as soon as I saw this, and I think at some point during an update, maybe, the settings got changed because I had, like, all of the different relationship settings on for some reason, which I know I didn't before. So, oops, that wasn't intended, but we roll with this. Butterfly Catcher is actually going to give birth in 1 moon as of this point, and she's expecting a large litter. So if we have any cats that are expecting kits and it's 1 moon until they give birth, I'm going to be drawing them in the nursery. But if they had just announced they're expecting kits, I'm probably going to still keep them in the lineup for warriors. You guys will have to wait until year 12 to see who the other parent is, though. They could be outside the clan, in another clan, or one of Butterfly Catcher's many, many crushes, because this girl is a bisexual disaster. She had a crush on Wolverine Speckle, which is sad because dead now. But she also has crushes on, in age order, Lightfoot, Hollowpath, Wisp-Breeze, Pounce Splinter, and even Silkfur. Honey, please, what is this? Also, Ottertail seems to be curious about her, so I think he thinks that she's a little suspicious with the not mentioning who's the parent, something he's kind of familiar with. But beyond her mystery kittens, she also got her tail burned in the fire, and she was catching the most prey on patrols before she announced her kits. She also gave a badger ride to the next resident in the nursery, which was adorable. And the next one up is the 4-moon-old Branch Kit, who has a bullying personality and is quick-witted and an avid play fighter. This is the kitten Emberfeather found, and I think he's very grumpy at the fact that every cat he seems to get close to seems to die. He's a little angsty boy right now, and I kind of don't blame him, but I hope he does better in the future. Also, his history tab says that he was abandoned by 2 legs, and that breaks my heart because he was found at 0 moons old. So someone's cat had kittens, and they immediately dumped them in the forest, which makes me so mad. But yeah, I really like his design, and I wish him luck in the clan, even if he feels a little upset right now. He's very cute. Last up for the 2nd year in a row is the 46-moon-old Lightfoot and her 2nd litter of kits. Like I said, they are literally newborns right now, so they are just potatoes in this drawing and they're not even facing the camera. So here's a little future sneak peek to see them better. From left to right in the lineup drawing, she has 2 Toms, the Noisy Prickle Kit and the Charming Tulip Kit, as well as 1 She Kit, the Nervous Rain Kit, who actually looks so much like Swanleaf with blue eyes in game that I screamed when I saw her. Lightfoot has spent most of the year actually just comforting Dark Whistle, and I really love their relationship. It's really sweet. That being said, Lightfoot finally has a slither of romantic light towards Swanleaf, but this is a really bad time for me to put them together, so I didn't. I know I said I would put them together if Lightfoot had any romantic light towards her, but Dark Whistle is struggling right now. Swanleaf is recovering from Moleshade's death. It's just not a good time. Lightfoot just had more kits. So if Lightfoot still has romantic like towards Swanleaf at the point of her current kits becoming apprentices, or maybe possibly when they're like 5 moons old, I will most likely make our first poly relationships canon and make Swan and Light mates as well. I wish this would have happened with less trauma involved, but who am I kidding? This is Clan Gen. What was I expecting? But that's the current clan, and real quick before the outro, here's all the current leaders. We have Bright Star of GalaxyClan and Kestrel Star of Creek Clan is still around. She's like 130 moons old or something. But Heather Star has passed this year, and Bug Clan is now led by the charismatic Tom Melody Star, and he's pretty cool. And Sharp Clan still has the compassionate Honey Star, who is doing great. I'll go a little bit more detail into each of the clans during the fan art spotlight, so I can ramble, but I just want to quickly go through cats in positions of power. Deputy-wise, we have Ottertail in GalaxyClan, the bloodthirsty Broken Tail in Creek Clan, who is still around, and she's almost an elder. In Bug Clan, we have the Compassionate Flyshell, and she was actually the maid of Swanleaf's uncle, but Frifkite passed away this year. And the strict Niles Cry of Sharp Clan. Medicine Cat-wise, there's Cinderspeck and Swanleaf. And in Creek Clan, we still have Slate Aster, who is also almost an elder, and she's actually dating Broken Tail right now, which is interesting. But we also have the Faithful Hairstream, who is adorable. Bug Clan has the Compassionate Pinecall, who is currently grieving his dad and Moleshade as well. And he has the Young Compassionate Dustrun, who is related to Swanleaf, by the way. I gave them matching dots. And in Sharp Clan, we have the Confident Mint Dapple still, the Daring Stotefur, and the Insecure Rabbit Paw, which I find funny that we currently have 2 orange bunny medcats. And drawing all the medcats made me realize that Swanleaf, Slate Aster, and Dustrun are the only female medcats right now. But yeah. Now I'm just gonna let fan art go on the screen while I give you a verbal update on some of the bordering clans since you guys were asking about them. I go into more detail in the Discord whenever it's brought up, but usually I don't really pay that much attention to them, but I do know a little bit right now. And in short, Sharp Clan had a fantastic year, and literally no one died in year 11. You go, Honeystar. Really glad to see them recovering from Makwastar. Also, Makwastar, Fox, who was her mate, Stanspot, who was the one that attacked Ravenspot, and Sagefern, the one that killed Bubblespeck and tried to kill Cloudjay. All 4 of those cats are now in the Dark Forest, for anyone wondering. Makwastar was a given, but I'm gonna be honest, we did a flip the coin thing on the other free, and the coin flip of fate decided that they're all in the Dark Forest. So now Sharp Clan has 4 Dark Forest cats. Heading into Bug Clan, we had a few tragedies, including the death of Heatherstar, who got hit by a monster, which I'm not surprised. It's Bug Clan. But Melody Star seems like a really good leader, and I hope he leads the clan well. I mentioned earlier that Swanleaf's mom has a girlfriend now, and I'm really happy for Blazehair. But Creek Clan is struggling so bad right now. They literally have like 12 cats in the clan. Sickness kicked their butts, and they are just slowly dying out, I swear. Broken Tail is the only living Kestrel Star kit, and as I said, she's dating Slate Aster. But Creek Clan is legitimately like slowly dying, and I'm scared. But yeah, I usually go into more detail in the Discord, but there's a quick footnotes version. And that's year 11. Hope you guys enjoyed the fire animatic and storytelling despite the sadness, and let me know if you're looking forward to year 12. What specific part are you looking forward to finding out? We have potential Dark Forest drama depending on what happens, Butterfly Catcher mystery kittens, and a lot more. It's still crazy that we're at almost 1 year since I started this, and I'm thankful for all of you, and I love this community that we've made. Thank you for watching, and I have a ton of links below, including the fire generator I used, family tree that will get updated within a week, my channel Discord, and my other socials in general. Lots of links, I am sorry. My commissions are open if you'd like to support me that way, and as I said in the beginning, GalaxyClan updates typically on the last Sunday of each month. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Peace!